Hi, this is Dave Heckroth, and you've reached another round of Zilker Tech Talk. Today we're going to be talking about a retail customer service business challenge. We'll show how a retail company can support its customers with IBM technology organizing the solution. Specifically, IBM BPM, Watson, and ODM will show customer inquiries coming into the business and how they can be handled much better, much faster than they are today. Let's take a look at the agenda. We'll overview the business challenge, understand this process flow that we're going to be going through, take a look at the various IBM tool suites that we're using to satisfy this challenge. BPM, Watson, and ODM. We'll get an understanding of how this helps us, and of course, because everybody loves it, we'll go through an actual demonstration as well. Now for the business challenge. Our retail customer has many hundreds or thousands of inquiries that they receive every day. The challenge is that today their process manual, whether it's an email inquiry or phone inquiry or some type of a system caused alert inquiry, all those things come into a central customer service department and they get manually routed throughout the enterprise to the people who are best suited to handle those business challenges. We're going to create a system where we can auto-route these inquiries to their prospective customer service agents to ease the burden of routing, and we'll get those handled in the most efficient way. Let's talk about the business process that we're going to follow. You can see here on the screen that I've got a number of steps labeled step 1 through 8. The first step is where we're going to receive the inquiry, and I've put here email for the purpose of simplicity in order to receive the customer inquiry. Then we're going to go through, in the orange boxes, we're going to make calls to Watson services that do different things, a classification component and a tone analyzer component, so I can gather more information about the particular email. Then after I assess those two things from a Watson services perspective, I'll send that data to ODM and allow ODM, with the business rules associated with routing a particular inquiry, take over and determine whether that's going to be an auto route to a particular division, a particular customer service group, or whether that's something that a human still needs to intervene with and manually route that particular inquiry itself. So to start the process, we're really going to invoke this with IBM's BPM product, both to create the actual process flow and then to actually help with the initiation of that particular activity. You can see in the upper left the process flow using BPM Process Designer in order to support the building of that. And then we have Process Portal, which we're going to use to spawn the activity. You can see in the lower right there is a red box surrounding the Retail Content Classifier Analyzer and Routing activity. And this is the activity which represents our customer service handling process. In the real world, this could be spawned in quite a few automated different ways. I'm showing it to you here in a dashboard setting so that we can walk through process and the demonstration, and you'll have an appreciation for how it works. So the first step, after I've actually spawned the activity, is to enter the email content. You can see here on the screen there's an order of precedence. The first thing is to enter the email text, and like I said, for simplicity, I've shown you the screenshot here where we're gathering what would be the email content. We can do this in a fully automated approach, but I've done this kind of in a manual step-by-step approach so you can have an appreciation for the steps. The second step is, after writing a text, we hit the Call Watson button. And what that's going to do is going to take the text, send it to Watson, and Watson is going to apply two services to it. The natural language classifier to determine basically what group it should go to, what ultimate class it should fall under, and then the tone analyzer, which the emotion of the text inquiry. And that's so that we can determine a priority. Is it something that needs to be handled right away? Is it something that can be handled in the normal course of business? Does it need to go to a specialty person because the person making the inquiry is very upset? So just to give you a little bit of an understanding about Watson and some of those services, two of which we're going to use today. One is the natural language classifier, and it is a service that understands text and the intent behind that text and returns a corresponding classification for a given set of text. In our case, we're supplying an email, and the ultimate outcome or the classification is what part of the business does this email apply to. And in retail, I'll show you in just a minute the different classes that we have set up for our retail business. We've simulated some text coming in a request. The natural language classifier service takes that information and it's going to return one of these 4 or 5 different predefined classes. It's either going to surround a returns program, a loyalty program, the billing organization, a sales organization, or if it doesn't fall into any of those well understood classes, it's going to fall into an other and then be handled by a different part of the organization. You can see that we have some metadata when we do make that call. The natural language classifier not only returns the class that it feels most satisfies the classification, but it also gives a confidence level. And in our case, you can see this was 99%. The second thing that we do from a Watson perspective is we take the input inquiry and we review it for its tone. Tone Analyzer is another service that lives within the Watson backbone of services, and it receives texts and provides back from that text some understanding of the tone, including the emotion, the language, a social tone. And in the case of emotion, it will tell us a little bit more information. It will describe that emotion. And in our case, we can see same type of thing. We've supplied email input. It goes to the Tone Analyzer service. And the Tone Analyzer service returns back to us a number of different items, part of that emotion-based evaluation. You can see that this particular email has an anger score, a disgust score, a fear score, a joy score, and a sadness score. And there's many others. But these are the ones that we've highlighted here today. And these are the ones that we're going to allow to influence what and how we route the particular inquiry when it comes in from our customers. After we run the Watson services, we then want to use our corporate knowledge to determine where and how to route the particular inquiry that's come in. And in our case, we use a couple of different attributes that are established from the Watson services themselves. The Watson classification process provides us the top class, and the confidence is based on its return evaluation. If Watson is sure of where it should go, then we're going to support auto routing. If Watson is not so confident because the email that was given to us is not as clear or we don't understand it as well, we're going to allow that to fall into the manual routing process and handle that as we do today. Most of these inquiries that come in will fall into the auto routing classification and we'll be able to go directly to one of these top classes. The second thing we do in ODM is after we've determined where it's going to go, we then try to give it a priority so that the customer service agents in that division can handle it in the most expeditious way possible. And you can see that depending on the tone and the score that was returned for the tone, it will determine whether we give it a high priority score or a lower priority score. And that priority score is what helps us determine if this is something which is a high, medium, or low priority. All of this is encapsulated in the ODM business rules. And after we run many inquiries, we do have a queue that allows us to see the routing designation for those particular inquiries. And here we can see based on the priority and the name of the particular routing, we get a sense for how the queue is organized for, at least in this case, 7 or so transactions. 2 of them are high, one's medium, one's low. Those are all going to be established with our business rules. The class that they fall into is based on the Watson classification service. And we then would know as a customer service agent, we go out and maybe my role is to handle just high priority billing inquiries. And so I would look to see if any fall in here. I could create a different queue that was just for me, which was high priority billing. In this case, I've grouped them all together so that we can see that from a single queue, you have an understanding of how these things are going to be separated and organized so that I don't have to look at all 7. I look at just the ones that relate to me. Now, there are a number of benefits that go along with this type of automated application. Certainly, the repeatable process by understanding how to classify and how to route particular customer service inquiries is certainly something that we've done here. In addition to that, in most cases, we feel that the inquiries coming in, most of them will be auto-routable. And for those that aren't, we'll be able to learn what to do with those over time. So if something falls into the manual routing category, we can capture that, ultimately find out where it's routed, and include that data as training data in our Watson service and make that better and faster for all future invocations of the routing capability. And then from a faster changing and deployment standpoint, because we have it in this automated tool, we can make changes to the thresholds that represent auto routing. If we find that, man, something has to be a 90% before we auto route, or something can be as low as a 50% before we auto route, we can make those type of business decisions and changes to that system in just a blink. So that will help improve the process over time as well. Let's take a look at a quick demonstration. Okay, so now for our demo, let's review the process again just so that you can follow along when we do the demonstration. First thing we're going to do is we're going to capture email content information as if it's a request from a customer. Then we're going to go and we're going to execute 2 Watson services. We're going to gather the information from those services, and then we're going to route the particular inquiry to a particular customer service division, and we're going to determine whether that's an auto route or whether that's a manual route, and then it will fall into our customer service queue to be handled. Okay, so like I said before, we start this process with IBM's BPM product, and we'll take a look at the portal. We have a launch configuration here which allows us to start this process, the retail content classifier that we talked about. But just before we do that, let's take a look and see what the queue looks like already. We've got 2 high items, a medium item, 4 low items, and none of these are of the classification return. So you'll notice that when we run through our example, it'll fall into that category. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click to spawn the process. When I do, it goes and puts it out here as a step input email content in my work queue. I'll click on that to claim it, and then it'll show me that input screen that we reviewed. And what I need to do here is to put in email content as if I were, a customer making some type of inquiry. So I've just copied it to my clipboard, and I'll paste it in here and simulate that process happening. Once I enter my text, I can then hit the Call Watson NLCTA button. I can send that text to those 2 Watson services, and it will return scores for those 2 evaluations. We'll see what that looks like here in just a second. So I'll go ahead and click the button and then view the results. You can see it returns very quickly, and it returned a classification of returns for the natural language classifier. That's the group that it should go to. It says that it's 99% confident, and it goes on to show me a bunch more information about the tone analyzer itself. Analyzes the tone on a number of different categories, and we can see here the score of 0.06 for anger, 0.03. We can see that for the most part, this is not a very emotional email response. So chances are that with the emotional scores being very low, it's going to have no problem auto-routing that with a low priority. But let's see what that does. We'll go ahead and click on OK after acquiring that information. Now all this information is going to be sent to ODM where those rules about that routing happen. And then it'll come back. We'll look at our process again, and we'll see that, oh, the only one with returns was the one that we just did. It's 65, which is a higher number than any of these. So we know that this is the one. And that's the demo. By looking at that email content, we can put those inquiries into the hands of the people who can manage them most quickly and most efficiently for the organization, and we can do that in an automated way. I've shown you this in a very step-by-step approach so that you can appreciate what's happening. All of this can be 100% automated, and all you would see is the work queue of information that you have to work on. So I want to thank you for taking the time to view our retail customer service demo. Special thanks to Arthur and Lal, who did a lion's share of the development for this particular demonstration. But if you want to reach out to somebody, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you understand what we did, how to jumpstart you in an activity of your own.